Bro, you're too much focused on the problem. Let's not worry about that. Let's be solution focused. Let's keep our mind clear of clutter and stay focused on what we can control, controlling the controllables. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to day 4 of the free 30-day challenge inside of Uncaged. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about information and education from two guys significantly smarter than I am, Einstein and Eisenhower. I'm very excited about the information we're going to be talking about because it comes with an uncaged twist. This is going to be information that you can directly apply to your life. You can literally watch this video, start brainstorming how to apply it to your life, and move on like just in a completely different mindset than you are prior to watching this. So please take it with a grain of salt. This isn't my information. This is anything you see out of me specifically. It's all regurgitated information from someone at some point in life, whether it's a book that I read, a training I've been through, a course that I've signed up for, a networking group I've been a part of, whatever it is. My objective is to be the most coachable person inside of a room. Einstein and Eisenhower being two people that I am interested in learning from. So we were able to take this information, throw it through the Uncaged, filter and make it our own. So what we're going to be going over today is a problem solution mindset, right? There's two things in this world. You're either problem focused or you're solution focused. And if you're focused on one, you can't be focused on the other. So we want to come up with, some signs cognitively that you can see and start to recognize when you are spending too much time being focused on the problem and not the solution, or at least finding the solution. Why is this important? Guys, this is something that we deal with all day, every day. Problems arise. Now, it's up to you to be, you ain't got to get ready if you stay ready, right? It's up to you. It's your responsibility as a fucking man to be prepared. Now, I'm not saying that things can't, come at us sideways. We hit, a curveball gets thrown our way, whatever the case is, we have to pivot, we have to learn from. But the more vigilant we can be about things like this and being able to recognize these sooner and get past them quicker is going to literally, again, I've said this multiple times, we're already on day 4, but it will change the trajectory of your life. And I don't say that just because it's a cool buzzword. This is something that I wholeheartedly believe in, so much so that I go way out of my way and spend a shit ton of time going through and creating this 30-day training program because it's, and giving away for free. Because I believe in this, and I stand behind the mission of Uncaged, which is make this information as accessible to as many people as possible. But also, I completely am bought in to the fact that the more information like this can be around people that I am in an ecosystem with, that I am in a direct correlation with, that if I can surround myself with more like-minded people, the law of averages is going to bring me up. That's it. And I'm not even going to get into all the psychology, some of the information that you learn and your retention rates for if you take that information and then you go and teach it to someone else. It's like a 90% retention rate. And so I'm trying to retain this information myself. I'm one of you. I'm staring into a camera that shows on a 65-inch TV behind it. I'm literally talking to myself. I'm sharing this information into a mirror because I want to learn this. So I'm actively going through this. I really, really, really fucking hope that you are as well. The value to being able to instantly notice when you're being triggered or anything's trying to throw you off your game and be able to notice it sooner and get through it quicker is going to be, it's going to be an invaluable trait that you start to learn. The cost of not learning something like this is going to have you continuously being pulled down, have the weight of, these problems on your shoulders because you're staying problem focused instead of being solution focused. So once you start to overcome this, that weight lifts off your shoulders. You start to be able to think with a clear mind and not be distracted by things that don't matter. The problems don't matter. It's what the solutions to those problems. And so as we go through this, we're going to look at what this problem solution path kind of looks like. And then, really learn some of the information that we actively share day in and day out inside the VIP group, which again, we are an accountability group. So we have guys that come to us and maybe they're flustered, maybe they're dealing with something, they're caught off guard, whatnot. And they start to elaborate on what's going on in their life. And we have to recorrect them as quickly as we can as a community of accountability and say, bro, you're too much focused on the problem. Let's not worry about that. Let's be solution focused. Let's keep our mind clear of clutter and stay focused on what we can control, controlling the controllables. So guys, please stick around with me. The reason I brought it up earlier is that when we start to go through this process, there's going to be times where the world tries to throw us off our game. And so Einstein came up with the famous quote that what's the definition of insanity? It's by doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different solution, a different outcome. And so for us, it's how do we stop going through this insanity cycle, right? What is it that we can directly do ourselves that get us out of that situation, that insanity cycle, sooner than later? Now, traditionally, problem solution path comes from a marketing strategy, and it's talking about identifying a problem, giving someone the solution to it, and then locating a problem moving forward. And then again, it's from marketing. So there's a whole concept on being able to produce solutions for people's problems, which is what people pay for. They're not paying for your product or service. They're paying for the solution that it provides, right? Stuff like that. So when we can start to conceptualize that from a marketing strategy into being directly associated to solving problems mentally, we get to change the perspective that we live in, right? So now what we have to do is figure out how to get from the problem to the solution as quickly as possible. So for us, again, the problem solution path is moving past it as quickly as possible. And there's a few different things that we have to do in order to be able to make that transition as quickly as possible, which number one is learning your triggers. If you can understand what your triggers are, and I don't care who you are, you got triggers. I don't care if it's previous traumas. I don't care if that's insecurities. I don't care who hurts you. No offense. It is now your responsibility to overcome these. These are now your demons that you have to live with. And the best way for you to understand how to get past it is by understanding your demons. You have to learn them. You have to study them. I said it on one of our retreat videos. It's the opening clip out of one of the hype reels, which is talking about learning yourself and identifying who you really are. We spend all this time studying other things instead of studying ourselves. It's now your responsibility as a fucking man being surrounded by like-minded guys inside of a group like Uncaged to understand that, to conceptualize that, and to move on. This is part of the problem solution path. As you see the problem is the fact that you don't understand who you are. The solution is figuring that out. Part of this free 30-day challenge is getting some of the solutions, access to some of the solutions to be able to do that. So for us, going through this problem solution path is one of two things, is locating the problems or the triggers. So learning the triggers helps you notice them quicker, right? Something happens that you have identified as a trigger of yours. You can start to recognize it's going to be a problem then before it becomes a problem, so that now you're not waiting for the trigger to happen, you to be able to internalize and process the trigger. Then now you start to move through being problem focused. And then when whatever that window of time is that it takes you currently prior to learning information in this video to identify, then finally moving to the solution. Now we see a trigger, we instantly move to solution. We don't have to spend time wasted on internalizing the problem. We know something that just happened that's going to be a trigger inside of us internally, whether that's personally or professionally. Something happens in the business world, I don't care what it is, happens, and you have previously identified that as creating a problem. What's the solution? How did we solve this in the past? We have now studied ourselves, our business, whatever, to identify when this trigger happens, this is the solution to solve the problem. All right, guys, now it's time to hop right back into another quadrant. I know we discussed one yesterday, but this is going to stack on top of the information that we learned yesterday about what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you love, and what you hate. This is the Eisenhower Matrix, okay? I told you we're going to be learning from several guys much smarter than I am. This is some of the information that has been trickled down and basically refined into a quadrant system, and it's going to basically determine things that are urgent or not urgent, important or not important, which is going to help allow us figure out what it is that we need to move past as far as creating solutions out of problems that were created. So for this, The top left part of this quadrant is going to be urgent, right? And then, pardon me, it's going to be not urgent, right? And then once we get from here, it's going to be important and then not important. And the reason we're talking about this is because when it comes up to with a problem and a solution, there's going to be people, as you start to scale yourself, as you start to build yourself out of tasks, as you start to create an environment and a lifestyle where you're only doing things that you love and you hate, and through this journey, problems are going to arise. All right. And now we need to decipher when and how to solve those problems. Again, this can apply personally and professionally. Some people it's going to click a little bit easier when it is a problem inside of their profession. Some of these people, it's going to click a little bit better when it's a problem inside of your personal life. All right, we're going to hop into the matrix real fast. And one of the first things we're going to notice is things that are urgent and important. When it comes to problems, these are things that you do, okay? Then the next thing what we're going to do is things that are not urgent, but are still important. These are going to be things that we schedule, okay? I'm going to provide these assets on the screen so you don't have to look at my chicken scratch. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to things that are urgent, but not important, okay? This is where we delegate, right? So we have our delegate, all right? And then lastly, we're going to pay attention to things that are not urgent and not important. These are going to be things that we delete. Now from here, I want to go back and say that this area right here is going to be where all your tasks fall that have deadlines, consequences, fires that you got to put out, whatever the case is. These are urgent and important. These really need to be tasks that you yourself are doing. These are your responsibilities. But next, we want to look at things that are not urgent, okay? These are things that you get to control the timeline. These are problems that you can create a solution for at a later time, but they are still important. We want to keep in mind the importance here. So because these are important, we still want to make sure that this is something that you do. If this is important to you, this could be something with your family. This could be something with your business, whatever the case is. We still want you to have your hand on this. We still want you to control it. We still want you coming up with the solution. It is a problem that is not urgent, but it is still important to you, and you have to identify these things. And there's going to be a very real reason why here that we'll explain here in a second. Then the next thing we look at is your delegate quadrant of the matrix. All right. This is going to be something that is not important. Okay. Not only is it not important, it is, however, it is urgent. So this means that there needs to be attention there. The solution has to be come up with very quickly. And if this is something that is not important to you, but it is still urgent, that means someone else can have that responsibility. So we're going to put someone else. All right? Someone else has this responsibility now because it is still urgent. It is still something as a human being you have identified needs to be handled promptly, but it is not important to you specifically. This section right here of all these tasks or responsibilities, problems that come up, they are not urgent, nor are they important. This is tasks that you need to delete, okay? Now, again, I know that we have talked about problems and solutions. This is a great identifier. Now, believe me, I believe that this Eisenhower Matrix pairs perfectly with yesterday's training, okay? It is highly, highly important that you understand the tasks that are at hand. But I also want you to put a perspective on this from your personal life on things that are problems in your life that you don't need to be carrying. The weight that we were talking about, we've talked about efficiency in the past. You can't be efficient when you're being weighed down by problems that aren't yours to bear, okay? This stuff right here, the problems that aren't or that are urgent but not important, and the problems that are not urgent nor important, why are you spending time on them? Why are you wasting valuable time, the only asset that you cannot recreate, that you can't buy more of, that you can't win in a lottery? Why are you wasting that on this stuff right here? Because this can be someone else's problem, or someone else's solution rather, to fix, or it's not even a problem in and of itself. It doesn't even matter to you. You're trying to fight other people's battles. One of the things that I want to talk about real quick before we get done talking about problems and solutions is a lot of times we have issues trying to come up with the true root of a problem. It's hard to find a cure for something that continues to come up over and over and over again. It's hard to find the solution when you don't know how to get to the root of it, right? It's ironic that I've talked about this so much lately, but for example, Heather and I, our goal as a married couple isn't to not fight. That is unrealistic in our viewpoint. It is to not have the same fight twice, right? And so part of the strategy there is being solution focused in our marriage, but that doesn't mean that we don't have problems that come up. It's that as we identify what our triggers are, I know my triggers, I know her triggers. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword because sometimes as someone that is learning, right, knowing what her triggers are, it's good for me. I say that tongue in cheek because, that can be used negatively if that's kind of the world that you live in. But being able to understand whether it's you, your spouse personally, or your children, or friends, loved ones, people that you surround yourself with, employees, whatnot, or professionally, whether it's vendors, whether it's clients, whatever the case is, if you understand what those triggers are, you can get to those solutions significantly quicker because you can identify those triggers. So for us, it's how do you get to the root of the problem? How do you find the root of the problem when you just know that there is a problem? So for us, don't correct me, please. It's either 5 or 7, but the reason I say that is because there are some studies that say 5, there are some studies that say 7, and I personally believe that every case is a case-by-case basis where you can ask yourself why 5 times or 7 times, or for this problem for you, it might be 15 times. For this problem for that person, it might be 12 times. For a different problem, it might be only 3 times. But you get to ask yourself why. Why does this upset me? Why is this a problem? Why am I triggered on this? Why this? Why that? Why? And once you start to get to the bottom of these responses, ask yourself, literally write it down. I'm not going to do it on the iPad, but write it down. When you start to identify yourself based on what we are learning here today, you know that there's a problem. We're going to move forward and be solution focused. Once we solve this problem, we're going to go back and try and identify how we ended up in this mess in the first place. So you get to ask yourself, hey, why did this deal go south? Well, this deal went south because of unrealistic expectations. Okay, why did we set unrealistic expectations? Well, we set unrealistic expectations because we didn't have all the information needed to be able to decipher what these expectations should be. Okay, why did we not have all the information that we needed to be able to make a decision and set proper expectations here? Well, we didn't do that because we didn't have enough time on the call for the discovery call to be able to collect all the data that we needed. Well, why did we have a call where we didn't have enough time to be able to ask the proper questions based on our standard operating procedures to be able to get the amount of data that we needed to be able to set proper expectations so that this deal didn't go sideways? Well, why did your schedule get booked that much? Okay, well, why was that person handling the booking? Okay, why was this person not properly trained? Okay, why did we not have systems and processes in place to train them properly? Okay, why did we not set aside time to identify that creating SOPs was important to our business? You keep asking yourself, why? Obviously, that was a business, reference, but start to think for yourself. Start to become a motherfucker that's going to come up with a solution to the problem. You heard the problem, now come up with a solution, right? So whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whatever defining factor you want to come up with on as we are progressing through life, as a fucking man, problems come up. But it's our responsibility as men. And I'm not saying that other problems arise at your hand or someone else's, fault. We're throwing that out the window. When a problem lands on your fucking plate, daddy, it is your responsibility to fucking come up with the solution. So if we can learn to solve problems quicker, we are going to be better off holistically throughout our fucking life. Personally, professionally, the way we are with ourselves, the way we are with our wives, the way we are with our kids. Everything in life gets better when you start to realize that there's problems and there's solutions. And if you're focused on the fucking problem, you aren't focused on the solution. And the quicker you can get solution focused instead of staying problem focused, your life is going to change drastically. So please take this information. I can't reiterate this enough. This stacks on top of everything that we've learned so far. We're only 4 days in, but I promise you, if you don't get this foundation set, the first 5 days are so massive when it comes to setting a proper foundation for being able to grow yourself personally and professionally. If you don't do this, it will fall. You will crumble, and it's going to fail. And I don't want to see that. The whole reason Uncaged is here is because I want to surround myself with other bad motherfuckers like yourself that are willing to put in the work to change themselves to become that better version of themselves. So as you're watching this right now, please go back through the recording. If you didn't pay fucking attention to it, go through the training. I am going to put these assets into the description so you can have access to it. You have no excuse not to do the work. Look at the Eisenhower Matrix. Think for yourself when a problem arises, what needs to happen, and how do we move forward? How do we create a solution to the problem? You might be watching this right now and you've got just this huge dark hole in you of all these problems that you've allowed to build up because you're so focused on the problem instead of being focused on the solution. Take this and get this information out, bro. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if you have to write it down, write a letter to yourself. You get out an iPad, go get you a whiteboard, draw on it, sketch it all out, get this shit out there and start putting the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how to come up with a solution to the problems and moving forward, recognizing problems quicker and then getting through them faster. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.